of water seen in fire or land seen in water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma Pochita Kaitruvotra Paramo Nimatsranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va Prayer Ishwaraha Sadyor Hridya Avarutite Cha Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshana. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kapataror galitam phalam sukhamukha amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavakaha. O thoughtful and O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse number 25. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthira, after hearing Bhismadeva speak in that appealing tone, asked him, in the presence of all the great sages, about the essential principles of various religious duties. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bhismadeva, speaking in that appealing tone, convinced Maharaj Yudhishthira that he was very soon passing away. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was inspired by Lord Shri Krishna to ask him of the principles of religion. Lord Shri Krishna inspired Maharaj Yudhishthira to ask Bhismadeva in the presence of many great sages, indicating thereby that the Lord's devotee, like Bhismadeva, although apparently living as a worldly man, is far superior to many great sages, even Vyasadeva. Another point is that Bhismadeva at that time was not only lying on a deathbed of arrows, but was greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time, but Lord Shri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment, And thus, in any circumstances, a devotee of the Lord is in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. Yudhisthira also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhismadeva rather than ask anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhismadeva. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier, Lord Shri Krishna, who establishes the glories of his devotees. The Father likes to see the Son become more famous than himself. The Lord declares very emphatically that worship of his devotee is more valuable than the worship of the Lord himself. Wow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is also said, that last point, in the Padma Purana, where it says, one second, let me just find it. Where, what's your name? Shiva and Parvati are having a discussion. And Padmavati asked Shiva, who's the best person to worship? And she's expecting him to say, Lord Shiva, right, her husband. But Lord Shiva surprises her and says, Aradhananam sarve sam, Vishnu Aradhanam param. So he says, Lord Shiva told the goddess Durga, my dear Devi, although the Vedas mention worship of demigods, the worship of Lord Vishnu is topmost and is ultimately recommended. Tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samacharam. However, above the worship of Lord Vishnu is the rendering of service to Vaishnavas who are related to Lord Vishnu. So here you go. This is what Prabhupada is saying here also. The Father likes to see the Son become more famous than himself. The Lord declares very emphatically that worship of his devotee is more valuable than the worship of the Lord himself. So he must be saying that somewhere, let's see. Must be saying that somewhere else also, but this is a quote from the Padma Purana where Lord Shiva says the same thing. Above the worship of Lord Vishnu is the rendering of service to Vaishnavas who are related to Lord Vishnu. Let me see if I can find that other. Yeah, there's a verse in Srimad Bhagvatam 5:12:12 that says, and that's a very famous verse. It says, my dear King Rahugana, this is spoken by Jad Bharat, unless one has the opportunity to smear his entire body with the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees, one cannot realize the absolute truth. One cannot realize the absolute truth simply by observing celibacy, brahmacharya, strictly following the rules and regulations of household life, leaving home as a vanaprastha, accepting sannyasa, or undergoing severe penances in winter by keeping oneself submerged in water, or surrounding oneself in summer by fire and the scorching heat of the sun. There are many other processes to understand absolute truth, but the absolute truth is only revealed to one who has obtained the mercy of a great devotee. So there you go. That is Srimad Bhagavatam 5:12:12. Raghu ganaitat tapasa nayati nachejyayat nirvapanad grihadva nachchandasa naivajalani surai vini mahatpada rajo visekam. Spoken by none other than Jad Bharat. Very nice verse. Okay, so here, again, there are many points in this purport. One thing Prabhupada says here, and it's very important, regardless of the condition of the genuine devotee, and take the example of Bhismadev, who's, stuck with arrows to the ground. And basically, he was like that for a long time. I think several weeks, maybe a month, waiting for the Battle of Kurukshetra to finish. He was knocked out by Arjuna on the 10th day of the Battle of Kurukshetra. So it lasted 18 days. So that's 8 days for sure he was stuck in that condition. And then they had to perform the obsequies, or the funeral sacrifices, funeral arrangements for everybody, including Duryodhana. So that took time. And after all that, they came to see him. So it might have been at least more than a week, or about a week. So 8 days plus almost another week, or maybe less than that. Anyway, at least 8 days for sure, and then a few more days. So he's in a very difficult situation physically, but mentally, his mind was fixed on Krishna. And although he was living apparently as a worldly man, but actually his mind was always fixed on Krishna. And he's far superior to many great sages, even Vyasadeva. And that's a shocking statement. Right? Another point is that Bhismadeva at that time was not only lying on a deathbed of arrows, but was greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time, but Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment. So we have the same thing in the life of Prabhupada. You can see him on his supposed deathbed, but yet he's still speaking purports to Srimad Bhagvatam. You could have said, well, one should not have disturbed him in that condition, but his mind was perfectly alert. And those purports are the best. If you read the last purports in the 10th canto that he spoke, they're very, very profound. They reveal a lot of things. So, maybe we can read that tomorrow. So then, one should not have asked him any question at that time, but Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment. And thus, in any circumstances, a devotee of the Lord is in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. Right way of life is devotional service to the Lord. And Yudhisthira also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhismadeva rather than ask anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhismadeva. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier, Lord Sri Krishna, who establishes the glories of his devotee. These are all amazing points, and this is the real Makara Sankranti celebration. Hearing about Bhismadeva, because he waited, as we'll see in a couple more verses. He specifically waited for Makara Sankranti to leave his body. Although Sri Vaishnavas celebrated almost a month later. So I'd like to know why. Because here it says, let's see, one second. Let's see. I'm looking for the verse that says he waited for this moment. Yeah, it says in verse 29, while Bismadeva was describing the occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. So that's what Makara Sankranti is, which was the day before yesterday. It's when the sun goes from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, and then the days become longer. Let me see if it says that in it's verse number 29. This is a different science, and Bismadeva knew well how to utilize it. He was just waiting for the suitable moment to quit his material body, and a golden opportunity arrived when he was instructing his noble grandsons, the Pandavas. He thus prepared himself to quit his body before the exalted Lord Sri Krishna, the pious Pandavas, and the great sages headed by Bhagavan Vyasa, etc., all great souls. So that opportune moment was when the sun passes from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, because it's explained in Bhagavad Gita that this is the more auspicious time to leave the body. And that's explained in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Let's see where it says that. It says, 8th chapter, it says, those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery God in the light, at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. That's it, 6 months when the sun travels in the north. That is 8:24. Yeah. However, Prabhupada says, when the fire, light, day, and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is to be understood that over all of them there are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. At the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident they leave at an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death. But otherwise, there is every possibility that they will have to return. However, for the pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of returning, whether he leaves the body at an auspicious or inauspicious moment, by accident or arrangement. So Prabhupada left his body in the month of November. That's during the sun's movement in the southern hemisphere. But he's saying, for a pure devotee, there's no fear of returning to the material world, whether he leaves his body at an auspicious or inauspicious moment. But Bismadeva, being a perfect, let's say, yogi, having perfect control of himself, he waited for an opportune moment. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Well, yeah. You'll see there's a book that I'm reading, the book that I wrote. The pages are open. Bring that here. Yeah. Your father's brother. Wow. Sorry to hear that. Wow. So he left on a good time. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So here it says, one second, let me just make sure. Okay, this is a quote from Srimad Bhagvatam 3:25-25, which says, Satam kusangam mama virya samido bhavanti hitkarna rasayana kata tajyosanad asva pravarga vartmani shadaratir bhaktir anukramisyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and therefore he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada comments, the process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth because they do not associate with devotees. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the Absolute Truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of Absolute Truth, there is no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagvatam or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees, and by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is free. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord. In other words, the devotee who when it says makes this association, who achieves this type of association or frequents this type of association, the consciousness of rendering service to the Lord and develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotion and service, he gradually becomes perfect. Purport, the Sri 25:25. Does that explain? Yeah. Why are they different? Worship is one aspect of service. Yeah. Huh? There's no difference. Who are you offering the service to? You're offering it to your guru or to Vaishnavas. I mean, you might find some nuance of difference between worship and service, but it's virtually the same thing. If the service is pure, that's worship, right? The gopis are serving Krishna. Well, you could say they're constantly worshiping Krishna because they're offering everything to Krishna. That's pure service. Adulterated service is different, but pure service is worship. There's one other point I wanted to make. Yeah, non-devotees cannot understand Krishna consciousness by reading Srimad Bhagvatam. That's a very important point. Or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories because spiritual life is not explained to them in a proper mood. That's the point. Spiritual life is not explained in a proper mood. So hearing from Mayavadis, very bad. One should not hear from Mayavadis. They're not explaining the proper mood of devotion. And simply reading the books, it's not enough. It's good, but it's not enough. One must have association with genuine devotees. Yeah. Okay, so in that verse which says Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samacharam. Tadiyanam Samachanam, yeah. However, above